So I think I finally have this balanced, which is basically all I was looking to do. And yes, this is what I will be playing in approximately 36 hours, although that'll be 8 a.m. Friday. So for all of you that want to skip this part, well, you can't exactly skip, but, from 8 to 8:30 I'll be going through this anyway. But I will go through the small little Cliff's Notes version of what's going on here, just to test out the equipment one more time. I believe I have everything balanced enough to where no one's going to be able to hear anything on the other side. I have this set up to where I have an open mic now in my living room. I can't really check out what's on the chat other than through my phone. I can check it through my phone, but it's not necessarily all that fun to do that. I tried doing it through my work laptop, but they literally blocked Twitch. So if I'm going to be doing this on Twitch, I pretty much can't look at it through any system that's in my living room. And I'm not moving anything that much. I do love, setting things up and doing things for charity, but I don't want to move everything from my bedroom to my living room to do that. Or vice versa, really. So this is as good as we're going to get. And it's not that bad. So for those of you who don't know Okami at all, it is basically a game that was made by Clover Studios, which was shut down by Capcom a while back. But back when they were Clover, they were the studio that was responsible for God Hand and Beautiful Joe, and this game, Okami. Honestly, there's probably one other one that I'm missing, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But basically, Clover Studios went under when a very, very bad thing happened to Capcom. 3 major developers of theirs basically went away. Those would be the guy who was responsible for this game, the person who was responsible for Devil May Cry, and the person that was responsible for Resident Evil. All left, I believe all at once, and said, fuck you, we don't like Capcom anymore, we're just going to go ahead and do our own thing. And they went away and they started to make their own company. Well, Capcom, since Clover Studios lost their major creator, because I believe the guy that did Okami did most everything else in that, basically, to save money, they went ahead and closed down Clover. And all that basically meant was that everybody that was involved in Clover Studios immediately went with wherever those 3 guys went. And they had more people. And they all made their own independent studio, and that studio became known as Platinum Games, which some of you probably know better than Clover Studios, because Platinum Games is responsible for Bayonetta and Mighty 101 and Transformers Devastation and a few other games that, they're responsible for the Legend of Korra game and the Ninja Turtles game and a few other ones. They're kind of hit or miss, but what they do tends to at least be good from a gameplay perspective, with a few exceptions. And the fact that this is one of the ones that's probably the most well-known in whatever it is that they've done before becoming Platinum should say something. This is basically their Zelda. Now, you're not going to see this anywhere else because Capcom still owns the IP. As a matter of fact, I can't remember if they made Okamiden, which is the DS version of this game, effectively, before or after they shut down Clover Studios. I don't think Clover was responsible for Okamiden, but Okamiden basically, if you liked Okamiden, you'd like this, because Okamiden is basically it's basically this game on the DS, which means the gameplay sucks, but the story is great. So there you go. Now, for everything else that's going on here, um, if you want to know what the story is in this, it's basically a Cliff Notes version of Japanese Shinto mythology. You're seeing a lot of names that are shortened versions of names you probably recognize if you are a fan of the Persona series, because there's a lot of Personas that Atlus likes to have that are based off of Shinto mythology for Japan that, are you're going to see here, like in this case. You have Orochi, which is an 8-headed dragon, which everybody who is a fan of Persona knows as Yamato no Orochi. Or Nagi is basically a shortened version of Izanagi, which of course was the main persona for the main character in Persona 4. So yes, a lot of these you're going to see, and a lot of these are going to be awfully familiar. Matter of fact, Nagi's descendant that you are introduced to very early in this game is Susanoo, shortened to obviously just Susano. But and the main character in this game is a wolf, embodied by the sun god or goddess, who of course goes by Amaterasu. So yeah, there'll be a lot of familiar names, at least if you're familiar with Persona or Japanese mythology. Anyway, I'm really glad I got this set up correctly because I didn't feel like spending any money for a charity stream any more than I already did. Honestly speaking, anywhere from $200 to $250 is enough. I mean, granted, I'm going to be doing this twice, and doing this for 48 hours is probably worth that much. So we'll just have to see how this goes. Oh, and just so that everybody knows, I'm aware of the fact that I'm not going to be nearly as funny as Chaotic, and I'm not going to be nearly as much about being the 100% LPer or knowing nearly as much about the game as Sugar Conroy is. So if you're looking for it to be that way, no. I'm afraid I'm not that entertaining or that informative because I don't do this for a living. So I'm only doing this because I feel that this game still to this day doesn't really get as much love as it should, and then I want to give it a little bit more as much as I can, because I feel like Clover Studios got a really bad break from Capcom, and I'm glad that they're an independent studio. As a matter of fact, I'm very in the middle of everything that I'm doing right now. One of the games I need to work really hard on now that I finished Horizon Zero Dawn, or platinumed it, is going to be Nier Automata, which is, of course, the game that they made in cooperation with Square Enix, and specifically Yoko Taro and his team. And that was the chocolate and peanut butter team-up that everybody, I think, was kind of waiting for when it came to Platinum Games and somebody else. Because Platinum Games was always good with the gameplay element, but they can never develop a really good story other than this one. And this one, they did that by basically borrowing from mythology. So the idea that they could take their gameplay and Yoko Taro's storytelling and insanity and mush it together, yeah, I'm going to be playing that like it's my job. After this weekend, probably. Along with Persona 5, because, well, yeah. And not to spoil too much, but I always found it weird that they asked people to work through this when it came to the intro, because later on in the game they actually take you back 100 years and they have you go through this entire scenario. So I don't, other than giving you an idea about why this wolf is important when you start this game, I don't know of any reason why they even go through this at all. It's basically a 10 to 15 minute Cliff Notes version of what happened 100 years ago before you start the game, purely just to let you know why you should give a shit before, everything begins. Not the end of the story. Of course not, it's just the intro. And that's basically it. As long as there's no audio issues, this is going to be the only video that I actually save on my channel in preparation of what's going to be happening Friday morning. So, anybody who's curious about what I'm going to be starting up, you can watch this, which would be great. And then, well, when it hits Friday morning, I'll be starting this up again and I'll go through the intro and we'll go through the entire spiel. So hopefully I will see a lot of people here then.